This time of year, the beginning of September, Labor Day is tomorrow. It always reminds me of school starting. You know, I know that school has already started for our kids, grandkids, neighbor kids, but for many of us, when we were little, school didn't start till after Labor Day. Remember that? The good old days when summer was summer. Okay, so September, it's like this thing. It's sort of like this cellular memory, you know, new shiny lunch boxes and binders and sharpened pencils and backpacks, you know. It's something new is happening, right? And for so many of us, we have this memory sort of really ingrained. There is the start of something brand new that is happening energetically for us. The title of my talk today is All Things New. All Things New. And I believe that we have the opportunity to step into the energy of newness at any moment, every day, in fact, in every breath, if we want to. There is such grace and there is such freedom in that, isn't there? I've been reading a lot of Richard Rohr lately, and recently he quoted Neil Donald Walsh, who I hadn't heard from in a while, and I want to share with you a quote from Neil Donald Walsh via Father Richard Rohr. Neil Donald Walsh wrote, "Yearning for a new way will not produce it. Only ending the old way can do that. You cannot hold on to the old all the while declaring that you want something new. The old will defy the new. The old will deny the new. The old will decry the new. There is only one way to bring in the new," he writes. "You must make room for it." You must make room for it. Now, this idea is a pervading and overarching theme across the religious and spiritual landscape of humanity. And that universal theme is that we can always begin again. Very much, Anne, like you shared, beginning again here in Portland in your recovery journey. Thank you again so much for sharing that for us this September, being National Recovery Month. In countless cultural and faith traditions, it is taught that we are given in this life the opportunity to create something new, to start over, to see something with fresh eyes, to step into newness. But we can't do this if we do not make room for it. If we do not make room for it. Now, 600 years ago, Jesus of Nazareth walked the earth. 600 years before... It's the faces. Okay. Maybe. 600 years before Jesus of Nazareth walked the earth, the Buddha lived 600 years before Jesus. The Buddha said, "Every morning we are born again. What we do today is what matters most." From the Hebrew Bible in Isaiah, it says, "Forget the things that happened in the past. Do not keep on thinking about them. I am about to do something new. It is beginning to happen even now." From Taoism, Lao Tzu said, "When I let go of what I am, I become what I might be." For us, right here, the very name of our spiritual tradition indicates that we are always at choice, that we can have a new thought about anything at any time, and in doing this, we are free. Our birthright is that we are free. Or just look at any modern innovation or invention of anything. It started with someone making room within themselves to have a new thought about something. So, in 2014, a woman by the name of Meg Remian, she was 31 at the time, she was in a really serious skiing accident and she broke her spine. And by grace, you know, she made it through. She did not have permanent spinal cord damage, but she was in bed for a very long time. She was bedridden for a very, very long time. and she was dependent upon her loved ones and her family to take care of her. She wrote that it was a very humbling experience to be in bed for that long, relying on everyone. She also wrote that it was incredibly boring. And after she, binge watched all the shows and all the movies, and there was nothing left, and she just spent all of her time in bed, she began to notice that her pajamas, her sleeping clothes, were kind of uncomfortable. Either the elastic band didn't feel good or the material didn't feel right. So she got curious and she started to research and find out if there were other fabrics, find out if there were other options for her. And at that time, there weren't any. And she got more and more frustrated and more curious. And it led her down this incredible road that she never expected in her lifetime. She began to draw, and she sketched out a drawing of pajamas that would be comfortable for her, because it didn't exist. She also did a ton of research on eco-friendly material, and she discovered bamboo as a material. Well, Meg Remian, out of that experience, opened up her own clothing company called Raven and Crow, which is dedicated to eco-friendly clothing using eco-friendly materials, out of a situation that never in her wildest dreams could she have possibly imagined that would happen. It was because she got curious. Now, the most effective way that I know to create room in order to have a new idea about anything, in order to start something new, is to, whether you know you do this or not in these moments, is to engage with the ancient Buddhist wisdom called beginner's mind, or what the Japanese Zenists call shoshin. To have beginner's mind requires that we drop our expectations and preconceived ideas and notions about something, and that, like Meg, we get curious. We become willing to think outside the box with an open mind, with fresh eyes, just like a beginner. I remember about 10 years, a little over 10 years ago, I was in a class here. I was teaching a class, and a student who, to this day, I just adore. We were in one of the sort of advanced classes. It starts with Beyond Limits, and it goes from there. We were in one of the advanced classes, and this particular student is incredibly adept at stepping into beginner's mind, just like, and not all of us are, most of us aren't. And in the class, I made a comment how this student was able to step into beginner's mind and how incredible that was. Well, it was a total compliment, but after the class, the student came up to me, clearly somewhat upset, and didn't quite hear the second half of what I said in my comment, only heard that first half, and came up and said, "I didn't realize you thought I was a beginner. Maybe I'm not in the right class." And I had this opportunity to then, in that moment, teach this very Eastern idea of beginner's mind. In the West, it's so antithetical to what we are taught. Zen master Shunryu Suzuki wrote, "In the beginner's mind, there are many possibilities, but in the expert's, there are few." In the beginner's mind, there are many possibilities, but in the expert's, there are few. How many times do we show up to something or some situation as an expert? We do it all the time, don't we? Because many of us have expertise in certain fields, right? But we get these things confused. Even as experts in our field, when we can show up with beginner's mind, we grow and expand and learn even more. Do you see? And we forget that. We show up sure that we know the answer. We forget the power and the strength of genuine and true curiosity. Eleanor Roosevelt said, "I think at a child's birth, if a parent could ask a fairy godmother to endow it with the most useful gift, that gift should be curiosity." Beginner's mind requires curiosity. Think for a moment about the last time that you learned something. something new. This could be anything. How to play a certain board game or sport or instrument, or, I don't know, how to change a diaper or cook a souffle or copy and paste. Think about that for a second. Think about the last time you learned something, whatever comes to you. Whatever that was for you, just track it for a second. You may have been a little confused at first, because you didn't know how to do that thing. This is, of course, totally normal. Whatever it was, because it was a brand new thing to you, you approached it with a certain level of curiosity, maybe even wonder. I remember the first time I learned to copy and paste, I thought it was the most wonder-filled thing on earth. But we have opportunities to be curious all the time, not just about new things we're learning, but moment by moment to be curious about what the divine is bringing to us so that we can expand and grow even more. The thing is if we weren't in beginner's mind when we were learning that thing, we would not have learned it. And so this behooves us to do our best to be mindful to stay in beginner's mind. So let's take it a step further, my friends. Think for a moment of something in your life that is currently difficult or challenging. It can be anything. Maybe it's something that is going on with another person. Maybe it's a relationship. Maybe it is something that's very personal to you or your well-being, something that you are longing for. Whatever this may be, just allow that to surface for just a moment. We all have something. It's the human journey. Whatever that is. Now, please humor me. I would like for you to make your hand into a fist. Still kind of keeping that challenge or difficulty in right here. But I'll just create a little bit of an opening so there's a little bit of a light that you can see through your fist, right? Now, again, please humor me, it's just us. I invite you to bring that up to your eye and look through that little tiny space that you have created. Can you see? Just a little. This is how we see our difficulty, our challenge, our situation. Now, look at it like that, through that little teeny tiny hole that you made in your fist. Think of that situation. I invite you to take a deep breath. And now just open your hand. Now, feel the expanse. Feel the expanse. Feel the energy. When we think of or are moving through a problem, a challenge, a difficulty, this is how we see it, through the myopic lens. I am inviting you to open your fist. As I said last week, Ernest Holmes taught that God can only do for us what God can do through us. If we're like this, we're making it very difficult for the universe, spirit, source, quantum consciousness, whatever word you like, to work through us, to bring a revealing of truth and healing. The only way that any kind of challenge, longing, or difficulty can be made better is if we decide to open up, to make room, to see it from another perspective, from a widened and expansive perspective. The great Buddhist meditation teacher Sharon Salzberg said, "When you're wide open, the world is a good place." When you're wide open, the world is a good place. Now, how do we stay wide open? How do we keep our fists down, so that we can make room, so that we can bring in the new? Now, Sharon Salzberg teaches a practice that I love. She is a world-renowned meditation teacher. But this practice that she teaches is something that we can apply to every single aspect of our lives. Now, whether you are meditating or you're in meditation or you are thinking about the thing, you're ruminating about it or you're worrying about a particular situation, the practice that Sharon Salzberg brings to us is 3 words. Those 3 words are just start over. Just start over. In meditation, for example, when our mind wanders, and it always does because we are humans, the practice is to stop, to gently and compassionately take a breath, and with 0 judgment, just start over. Just bring yourself back to center and start over. When you are thinking about a difficult or challenging situation or a longing you might be having and you are feeling constricted, or you're suddenly seeing it through a tightly clenched fist, I invite you to take a breath and just start over. Just start over. Now, I know many of you might be sitting here or at home, and you may be thinking to yourself, well, that's easily said. Or you might be thinking to yourself, why bother? The mountain that is in front of me right now feels too big to climb. I get it. Here's what I want to give you. In Judaism, in the Talmud, there is a phrase, Bishvili nivra ha'olam. It means, for my sake, the world was created. For your sake, my love, the world, the entire world was created. Bishvili nivra ha'olam. That, my dear, is how important you are. The world was created for you, and you were created for the world. This isn't meant as some self-help trope. This is ancient spiritual truth with a capital T from the Talmud. It is wisdom from the ages, from the ages. So whatever seeming mountain may be at this very moment in front of you, my invitation for you is to remember that you are a divine emanation of spirit. You profoundly matter. Bishvili nivra ha'olam. For your sake, the world was created. And as such, for all of us, this world was created. For all of us, open up your fist, my love. Expand your perspective. Enter in with beginner's mind and curiosity, even if it is breath by breath. Even if it is on the breath. Make room in yourself, just like Meg did when she was bedridden. Make room for your curiosity, and I invite you to see where that takes you. This will lead to the expansion and the revelation of the deepest revealing of truth for you. In the Christian Bible, it says, "Behold, I make all things new." In our teaching here in New Thought, we understand that this doesn't mean that there is some man God high up in the sky making things new for us, but rather that we co-create with the divine, that the divine is in, through, and as all things within us and in the mystery. And therefore, when we are able to open our fist, if you will, and create room for a new thought, that is then when we together with God's Spirit source, love, the I am, together, that is when we are able to create and experience a true, expansive new thought together. And this co-creative relationship supports us in magnificent ways. When we are looking at something like this, we are forgetting that we are in relationship with the divine. This is the gesture. But we humans go like this. I invite you to expand outward. So many of us walk through life, or walk through moments, or walk through experiences with expertly clenched fists. So this week, I invite you to notice where in your life you have a tendency to show up with an expert mind. And I invite you to, with curiosity, open into the divine intelligence of beginner's mind. Let go of all expectation and allow yourself to be delighted by Spirit, to be surprised by the divine. Hi, God. See, surprise. The best. For those of you at home, a phone just gloriously rang at the most perfect time. But do you get it? So the second thing that I invite you to do is notice where you may be looking at a situation through a closed fist. Where in your own life are you looking at something like this? And open it. Open it to make room for something new and glorious to emerge. And finally this week, my loves, I invite you to take a breath and embrace the beautiful Buddhist wisdom of just starting over. Just start over. There's no failure there. That's actually succeeding in a moment. Just starting over. I invite you to just start over because for your sake, my love, this world was created. I want to close with an excerpt from some of the words that John Dewey shared earlier from the poet John O'Donohue. He wrote, "Unfurl yourself into the grace of beginning. Awaken your spirit to adventure. Hold nothing back. Learn to find ease in risk. Soon you will be home in a new rhythm, for your soul senses the world that awaits you."